One of the biggest mistakes is that you might think there is a problem and you build a solution. It can take you a year or two to build it. And then if you take it when you take it to the market, it's kind of a problem, but it's not a big problem. It's kind of good to have, but not must have.
Today's guest went from selling insurance on the street to building a multi-million-pound fintech platform. Taras Rebak is a Ukrainian-born entrepreneur and partner at Fusion, an investment and wealth management group.
You started off selling insurance and healthcare products. What's the story behind your rise to partner at Fusion?
I came to London 20 years ago, straight after university. I guess I was looking for some sort of challenge and adventures and looking to start from scratch in a new country. And my first job was selling insurance and healthcare products, which was a direct sales, commission-only job.
In today's episode, we talk about scaling with focus, digitizing an industry stuck in face-to-face mode, bridging the gap of affordable advice for millions, and how Tara took a low-profile business and turned it into a high-impact platform.
Things will take longer, it would be harder, so you really need to prepare for it, and it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. You need to build resilience and stamina for that.
Hey everyone, today's guest went from selling insurance on the street to building a multi-million-pound fintech platform that's reshaping financial advice in the UK. Taras Rebak is a Ukrainian-born entrepreneur and partner at Fusion, an investment and wealth management group managing over £2 billion in assets. He's leading the change to modernize financial advice through tech. His team isn't just digitizing paperwork, they are giving independent financial advisors a complete digital stack to run more efficient, scalable businesses. He calls it Shopify for financial advisors. In today's episode, we talk about scaling with focus, digitizing an industry stuck in face-to-face mode, bridging the gap of affordable advice for millions, and how Taras took a low-profile business and turned it into a high-impact platform. Let's dive into it. Hey, Taras, welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Thanks for having me, and hello, everyone.
Listen, you started off selling insurance and healthcare products. What's the story behind your rise to partner at Fusion? Let's start off from there.
Well, it was a long journey and an interesting story. So, as you mentioned, I'm from Ukraine myself. I came to London 20 years ago, straight after university, and I guess I'm not sure why I came, but I guess I was looking for some sort of challenge and adventures and looking to start from scratch in a new country. So my first job was actually in hospitality. It was an opportunity for me to get visa back then, but because I always wanted to work in business, I very quickly left and came to London. And my first job was selling insurance and healthcare products, which was a direct sales, commission-only job. Back in the days, if you remember, there were people like in shopping centers with a stand trying to stop bypassers and sign them up for a service or sell them. So that was my first job. It was very interesting. It was very challenging. And at some point, a couple of times, I actually was thinking quitting it. But then I thought, okay, if I want to get through, I need to stick to it. And, I need to hold on. So that's how I started. Then I moved into kind of recruitment, but more into executive search. So I was working as a headhunter. And because of my kind of Russian Ukrainian language skills, I was covering emerging markets. And back in 2006, 2007, it was a golden days of that business. You could make a few $100,000 by placing kind of a single person as a fee, not as a salary. And I was thinking, wow, I found my spot. I'm going to be working here. I'm going to be doing this job and everything going to be great. And a few years later, I would. Unfortunately, then we had 2008 global financial crisis. Obviously, in my kind of job, I was working with investment banks and investment funds. So I was placing people like vice presidents, CEOs, finance. So basically, very senior people working in investment banks. So the hiring then kind of stopped. I was made redundant. And since then, probably more or less, I was working either for myself or in a business with someone. So kind of having the job helped me to build up a network of people working in the investment world. I was doing a bit of recruitment on my own, but in 2011, I set up a business which was investment advisory kind of practice. My business partner, I actually used to spar with him. So I met him in the gym and we've been fighting quite for some time. And then joined kind of forces and started working in business. And the company was called InvestCap Group. And basically, there were three of us. We were backed or kind of got a venture funding from Capita Group or Capita Simons, the construction division. And the business was that my business partners, they had a very good connections with China. So China state banks, state-owned entities, and the mandate was to go and source large-scale construction and infrastructure-related projects globally. So Chinese banks could fund it or provide that funding with certain involvement of state-owned entities and like as a general contractors. And my role, or it just happens that I originated a very large project in Crimea, in Ukraine, back in 2011. It was 1 billion plus project, which included reconstruction of an airport, seaport, development of residential area, and agriculture. So we managed to put this kind of project together. It involved Crimea government. It involved Chinese government officials, banks, and large-scale state companies. We traveled a lot to Crimea, to China. So we basically spent like 4 or 5 years putting this all together. And then, unfortunately, after we got our first term sheet signed from China Exim Bank for the first project, it was 250 million, I think. It was a seaport. Kind of the first war between Ukraine and Russia kind of broke, and Crimea became Russian. So unfortunately, that's not the kind of risk we anticipated or we could expect. And unfortunately, back then we decided to close the business just because it cost us a lot of money. We invested personally quite heavily in that, and basically everything was turned kind of upside down. So since then, I started working with Fusion. I know guys at Fusion and kind of main partner for some time. We've done some business together, and I kind of start working on a small single project, then joined full time, and like a few years later became partner, shareholder, and happily working with the team since then.
Love it. So quite a big journey out there. And when did you realize, when you moved on to Fusion, that was the tech to unlock over there?
It was more or less around the same time because our kind of business at Fusion, it also evolved over the last kind of 20 years. So business started in 2004, and it started as a quantitative hedge fund. So it was institutional fund for institutional investors. We specialize in protective strategies. We done very well during crisis months in 2008, 2009, 2011. However, it was a very niche product and counter-cyclical. So from 2012, 13, the business started thinking how to evolve and how to change and basically build a sustainable business rather than running a specialist investment strategies. So in 2016 or 17, we start looking at retail market in the UK. We were thinking to kind of expand into this market organically, but very quickly we realized that there is a good opportunity for consolidation. And I'm talking about independent financial advisory businesses, basically advisors who service retail clients, So we saw an opportunity for consolidation, and this is when we start building the business through acquisitions. So essentially, we execute buy and build strategy within IFA market. And as soon as we start buying advisors, we've been thinking that technology is changing the way services are delivered. Obviously, back then it was Amazon, e-commerce, robo advisors were coming up to the market. There was a lot of noise around the robo advisors back then. I think at that time, Nutmeg was kind of the largest one, the most popular. And people were saying that, like financial advisor is going to disappear in a few years and that's it for the industry and so on and so forth. However, we always believed, and I strongly believe now, that the future is really hybrid. So you can't get human in many jobs. You can't replace humans with robots. But what you can really do, and where it kind of becomes really powerful, is that by using technology, you enhance human capabilities. So I always think about just FA and just generally kind of technology as an exit suit. So you have human soldier and a robot soldier. Robot soldier probably, it's kind of unbreakable and it can do things, but what humans have, first of all, they have kind of human empathy, human kind of qualities, and we can think. We can think critically, we can think creatively. So by having an exosuit, you still have human brain, but you can lift, weight 10 times, heavier, or you can run faster, you can jump longer, and so on and so forth. So when we start thinking about how to address this digital change, we start building Justify, and we've been thinking to build an online or hybrid advisor for our own advice and for ourselves only. However, very quickly we realized that like 80-90% of IFA companies in the UK, which are medium and small size businesses, they have the same challenge. So this is why we decided to open the platform to the whole market and make it available not only for our advisors, but for every advisor in the UK to use it as well. So it took us quite a lot of time and money. And
How many years?
I read an interesting book recently about how big project work, and we thought it's gonna take us maybe a year and a million
Mhm.
or so, and it took us 5 times longer, and it was probably 5-6 times more expensive. But we finally launched about a year and a half ago, and now we're live.
Love it. Okay, I'm going to come back to those numbers that you've just mentioned out there. I just want to understand. So today, Fusion manages 2 billion GBP across multiple verticals. What's the core playbook you have used to grow the business sustainably?
It really depends. So we have 3 lines of business, and they
Hmm.
are part of the same group, but it's
Hmm.
3 distinctive lines of business. First is financial planning and advice,
Mhm.
where we have 13 offices across the country, 30 plus advisors. They work with more than 6,000 clients, and they provide financial planning, advice, inheritance, traditional financial planning. We have investment management business where we run investment portfolios for retail clients. However, we don't deal with end clients directly. We work with financial advisors
Yep.
who allocate their client assets to these portfolios. And the third line of business is Justify, which is a well-stacked platform. It combines full advisor tech stack with custody of client assets, investment options. So it's basically an ecosystem. I just kind of start scaling it. So it really depends on what line of business we're talking about. If it's financial advisor business, obviously there are a lot of changes happening in regulation, compliance, so we need to be kind of up to speed with everything and deliver good client service. So that's what we're kind of working on and what we're doing. And Justify is a new product, new proposition, is a relatively new way to do things for financial advisors.
Got it. Are you able to share what's the split across those three verticals, across the 2 billion at very high level?
So high level, probably 80%, most of it is in financial planning business at the moment.
FP&A. Okay. Okay. All right. Got it. And what's been the biggest challenge in building the digital platform for IFAs?
Yes, I think we face challenges every day. And I think if you are building something new or relatively new, you can plan ahead, you can anticipate certain things. But the way things work in reality, it can turn very different or it can be very different. So I think I can't think of kind of the biggest challenge because I think at every stage, when you kind of make a step up or you grow, you fix certain challenges, but then you face the new one. So you
New one.
almost like go to the next level and you have a new boss, what it's called,
Yes,
level boss.
exactly.
You face it, then you kind of overcome it, then you have a new challenge. So yes, that's an
Got it.
ongoing process.
Okay. How did you actually, FP&A is a very old fashioned, face-to-face advice. How did you actually change the mindset of people to move, I would say, to the digital shift, especially before COVID?
That is still work in progress.
It's still work in progress. Okay. Tell me more.
Yes, and before we have not launched before COVID, so it took us about
Okay.
5 years to build. However,
Mhm.
when we start preliminary kind of conversation and testing the waters before COVID, everyone was pretty resistant, and I think at that time we are pretty, I mean, relatively kind of innovative with the concept. So everyone was saying, yeah, we don't need it. We like to meet clients face to face, etc., etc. What helped, ironically, is that after COVID lockdown, people got used to online meetings much more. They realized that you can save time on travel, you can work from home. So that changed the mindset of many advisors and clients actually. So they used to online meetings more and it was easier. However, it's not only about meeting clients online and the problem or challenge we're facing, it's not about online meeting because you can have meeting on Zoom, on Teams, whatever. It's a common thing. But over the last kind of couple of years, with the development of technology, and if we're talking about advisor space or advisor,
Mhm.
there are different tools for everything. So you have advisor back office system, you have client CRM, you have risk profiling, you have some suitability report generation software, and I don't know, teams,
Yeah.
something else. So on average today, based on certain kind of stats, I think on average, advisory company would use around 12 different tools or applications as a part of their work. Now, when you have one or kind of a couple of apps, means they make your life easier, that's good. But when you have multiple apps doing different things, and as your business grows, so the integration between these apps or just kind of making the work convenient is becoming very challenging. I don't know, some apps get upgraded, functionality changes, how you send data from one app to another, how you sync it. So the managing the whole tech stack is becoming even more complicated, or it's becoming complicated. So the way we see is that the next stage is that when you combine everything kind of in one place, you have one ecosystem where advisors, when they log in into their back office system or a platform, they don't need 5, 10 different apps or I don't know, even more. They can work in one environment. And that is what we are trying to solve. So I can't say that the product is finished.
Right.
We're adding kind of more functionality, AI capability, more investment options, but the core product is ready, and now we're taking it to the market. I can also say that the feedback we're getting from advisors, again, there are different type of firms. For some people, and it's not even about advice, I think it probably can be applicable to everyone else. For some, it's lifestyle business. They're happy where they are. They might retire in, I don't know, like in 5 years, and people don't want to change things, and they're comfortable with the current setup. That's fine. However, those who are looking kind of 5, 10 years ahead, larger companies where they're looking maybe to sell in the future, they realize that technology is becoming more and more important. To some extent, we're kind of working on a change in the mindset, and the way we try to explain to things. It's not only, it's not having an additional tool, it's changing how you do things. And a good example is probably, I don't know, in the past you would have, I don't know, abacus, where would you calculate things, or calculator. At certain point, we had Excel. To learn Excel and how to use it, it was a bit of a friction how to do it, and people were okay. I have my calculator, I'm happy with it. But now, I think the whole financial system runs on Excel. Yeah, okay, maybe there are some other tools, but it's part of everything. So yeah, this is a bit of the way we think about it. It's almost like changing from, I don't know, using calculators to switching to Excel.
Got it. I got it. And talk to me, for someone listening in onto this, right? You built everything in house, if I'm not wrong. What's the kind of advice you would give somebody who is starting up some kind of a tech in this in the financial sector? What kind of advice would you give them? Your top three things.
Okay, so I answer your first question. So we built everything in house. No, we have certain integrations,
Mm-hmm.
but the core system is built in house. The reason why we built it in house is that at the time when we wanted to do it, there were no solutions available. So we had to build it from scratch. In a hindsight, if there was a solution, we could probably use someone else's, and I don't know, on a
White label.
basis. But I don't know, because there is always a risk if you rely on someone else's tech. If the company goes out of business, your whole business model relies on it. So there is a huge risk. So in that sense, it's good that we built it. We control the technology. We can use certain integrations, but we can switch them. We can switch providers if they want. I don't know, like for video chats or recording or CRM or something. Sorry, not CRM, but set
Yes.
electronic signatures. We can switch it. It won't be detrimental to the business. What I can say to, like, for example, if someone is thinking to start a business, because in some cases we sell. I mean, we have products, we have a service, we have products to sell, but I always getting approached by a lot of like startups trying to sell their product or their service. One of the biggest, and I probably made these mistakes in the past as well. One of the biggest mistakes is that you might think there is a problem and you build a solution. It can take you a year or two to build it, and then if you take it when you take it to the market, it's kind of a problem, but it's not a big problem. It's kind of good to have, but not must have. And this is why I see a lot of, especially kind of younger guys or younger entrepreneurs who build something. They might raise some VC money or whatever, friends and families. They do something and then they go with this product around. But in reality, it's kind of, in theory, it sounds good, but in practice, it doesn't solve a crucial problem. Or sometimes people might not think, for example, like 2 or 3 steps ahead,
Yes.
where you might have an app that solves something. And on its own, it's fine. But then you're thinking, okay, if you take it to a larger business, they have other systems, other software, other tools, how it's going to be integrated, how they feed their data. So quite often, they can even sell the kind of initial idea to someone, but when it comes down to implementation, 2, 3 steps down the line, they face a challenge or like a roadblock, and they can't move just because, I don't know, it could be a large company, they use certain system, and the new app doesn't integrate with it. That's it, no one will buy it. So yeah, my advice would be to try to solve real problems and try to speak to potential customers, sooner the better. And the second one would be, again, if you speak or when you speak with potential customers, try to think kind of the whole, from selling the dream, selling the promise to execution, because execution is everything, how it's going to work. So you can think about it, visualize it, ask questions, but try to think from start to finish.
Got very good advice out there. Yes, and I think the key point out there is to speak to the customers and understand, what they dream and vision, and also then the time to implement it. It doesn't become a nice to have once it's implemented in some shape or form.
Yes, I mean, there always have to be a balance, because sometimes people think that, okay, like your potential customers might not kind of appreciate the problems they have. So you almost like need to come with a solution. And to some extent, that's true as well. But more often than not, is that, people try to solve a problem which is not a big thing, or it's not a priority.
Yeah, got it. You describe yourself as a Shopify for financial advisors. Tell me more about that one.
Well, I only tell this to a selected group of people. When we start thinking how to talk about Justify, because again, like in this world, we combine two core functionalities. One is investment platform, which is a custody of client assets and where the client assets get invested in different model portfolios. And on the other hand is a different technology that advisors use, like advisor back office system, CRM, etc. So when I was thinking about how to talk to potential kind of investors or partners, how to talk about Justify, and trying to kind of find the similarities with some real kind of business case studies, I thought of Shopify, because my wife had an experience early days with e-commerce before Shopify, and I remember it was a nightmare to set up online shop. You have to pay a few
Yes.
thousand to developers. You need to have a merchant account. You need to have a payment gateway. It was super complicated, expensive, and it was like a nightmare. She was probably one of the first, early users of Shopify, and these guys basically combined everything. Looked after payments, cards, deliveries. They had different apps. You could be up and running if you know what you're doing, but with a very limited kind of input in terms of kind of effort. You can set up your online store in, I don't know, in half an hour, in an hour. So this is what the guys solved, and they combined all these kind of different functionalities in one place, and they made it very easy, kind of accessible, and a lot of people without any kind of technical knowledge, they can start selling online very quickly. So to some extent, that's what we're doing. Also, we're not replacing the current proposition advisors have. It's complementary to what they're currently doing. However, it helps to reduce them time for servicing clients, like 3 or 4 times. It kind of increases their capacity in terms of service coverage, and ultimately it improves profitability, impacts the business value in a positive way, and helps them to service clients not only in their local area but in any part of the UK, and different
Go-
client segments as well.
Got it. Okay, so that explains it out there. Am I not right and wrong in saying that you ran a case study where you all saved about 30%, I would say, of efficiency? And can you just walk us through that case study and what exactly was done at that point?
Yes, so we done a case study with one of the advisor firms, and
Mm-hmm.
I've been told that by one of my friends in a large consultancy, that usually when people talk about efficiency, it's very vague. We actually
Yes.
put the quantitative approach and put some numbers to it. So what we do and the impact we see. So usually with advisors, the clients would have almost like a Gaussian distribution. So there would be like 20, 30, 40% of clients with a bit smaller investment pots. then would be a medium range, and that would be a higher range. Typically, what we see is that and the number of hours advisors need to spend on each client is more or less the same, whether the client has 200,000 or 100,000, or if they have million. If they have more, it can be a bit complicated, but on average, they spend the same amount of time on each client. So the case study we did is that we saw with a number of IFA companies is that about 30-40% of their clients only attribute to 10% of their revenue.
Okay.
Which means 10%, 30-40% of the clients, they have around 10% of assets and 10% of revenue. However, if we look at the number of advisors and number of hours they spend on each client, this 10% of revenue takes 30-40% of resources. Like it or not, it's how it is. So by shifting this or by moving this segment of client to a digital proposition, and when I say digital financial advice or digital proposition, it's not a robo advice. It's still human advisor, qualified, regulated, delivers regulated financial advice, just doing it online and in a more streamlined environment. So we saw an impact whereby kind of moving these clients to digital proposition, and usually these clients with smaller investment pots or more straightforward needs, they immediately can free up 20-30% of their resources. So they still need some advisors to service these clients.
Yes.
Instead of having 4 advisors out of 8 covering this client segment, they can have 1 advisor out of 8 covering this segment. And then advisors, when they free up their time, they can focus on new business, other clients. There is definitely, across the industry, there is a demand for financial advice, and roughly in the UK, about 6 million people, or maybe like 5-6 million people, get financial advice and pay for it. And there is another 6 million people, which is called affordable advice gap. It's still people with money. They happy to pay for financial advice if it costs less or if it was a bit more affordable. Because the biggest kind of obstacle for clients to become to use a financial advisor is initial fee.
Yes.
Because if you have, let's say, I don't know, like 70,000 or 100,000 for an advisor to onboard a new client, they still need to spend in a traditional face-to-face kind of paperwork mode, or maybe a hybrid. They need to spend like 30-40 hours KYC, onboarding, documents, sending contracts, sending it by posts and stuff. So the minimum fee is typically quite high. And for people with even like 100K or 50K, is becoming, it's like uneconomical for them, and advisors is difficult to justify that initial fee is like 4-5% of the total amount invested. With a digital proposition, they can reduce it by like 5 times, so the minimum fee can be considerably lower without having an impact on the firm's profitability. And this is how they can scale. And ultimately, with the same resources, same setup, they can double revenue in almost like a year and build a bigger business, hire new people.
It seems like a no-brainer, but what are the challenges you face when you're speaking to people who you'll want them to adapt this platform of yours?
Sounds like a no-brainer, but it never is. I think the biggest challenge, now people understand that, like it or not, technology is changing things and you need to adopt it. There is a little bit of I would not say friction, but people, when they are doing their day-to-day job, they're busy with client meetings, admin, compliance, operations, whatever. So it's almost like a new project for them. So everyone we speak with, they say, yeah, great idea, but a little bit later, because maybe on holiday, maybe, I don't know, end of tax season, New Year, Christmas, something else. So it's people get the message and they understand the importance. However, some of them try to, there is no agency to do it. However, on the other hand, there are firms who realize it, who want to take action now. They understand that they will have to do it either now or in 6 months' time or 12 months' time. And the sooner you do it, the better. Because if you don't have resources, then it's great. This is exactly why you need to implement it, because like in 1 or 2 months' time, you will have more resources. You can wait another year, not much will change, and you still probably will do it. That's a bit of it's almost like a bit of a change management. So you slightly need to change your mentality, maybe have people who understand it, have like maybe kind of, I don't know, champions who want to pioneer this kind of, emerging kind of trend. But yeah.
Got it. Got it. And let's talk about the strength in Fusion, right? Is it over 130 plus employees you'll have right now? Is that correct?
Across the group, yes, over 130, 140.
Okay. And what's been your biggest lesson in learning from building a team that scales?
I don't know if there is a single lesson because every day you learn something. And if
Yes.
you're doing new things, something will come up, you haven't thought about it, or something unexpected, or I don't know, almost like a butterfly effect. You get, something happens which has an impact on you. So my biggest lesson is probably I need to be aware of surprises that they can come from anywhere
You're right.
and never get kind of too comfortable or too relaxed. And it's very similar, like I mentioned that I still box, but I used to do it professionally for 6, 7 years. And I know from boxing that you go into the ring and you might like technically and overall, you might be much stronger than your opponent. But then some crazy punch, if you are too relaxed or if you are just, not watching carefully, some crazy punch can put you down. So you always need to be aware, cautious, and then pay attention without being a control freak. Try to keep an eye on things.
Okay. That's an interesting comparison out there. I think it was in our pre-call. You mentioned, the challenge of finding the right people to execute your vision. How are you solving that today to find the right people to execute your vision?
It's also a work in progress. I
Okay.
think it's a bit of I mean, sometimes you can hire someone, and we had examples like in the current place and before that. Okay, you hire a candidate. It's he or she is okay, but you're like it's just a normal hire, and then someone turns out to be very very good, and they progress very quickly. Sometimes you have high expectations, but things might not work out for whatever reason. I think that, like for me, I always try to be upfront and honest with people and say what is expected, what we're trying to do, what we're trying to achieve, what are the challenges, what are the opportunities, and really try and tell people what to expect because never, anything goes according to plans. There can be surprises. And as long as you tell people that, either what to expect or what you are expecting from them, I think that's kind of number one. Then I always believe in kind of leading by example. So if I won't ask anyone to do something that I won't do myself, and it can be very kind of basic stuff, or it can be some complex stuff. But really, it's like I need to be able to do the job reasonably well. I can't be perfect because that's the point of hiring professionals who can do a very good job. But at least I need to know what the job is about and have an experience in one area or the other. And then, yeah, to some extent, it's a bit of a trial and error. But I think I believe more kind of in motivating people and trying to get kind of the best out of them. And ultimately, if we are motivated, then we will do well. And if people are open to learning, open to feedback, that's great. And the same for me. I always tell everyone that if you don't like something, if you think something can be done better, differently, or whatever, just tell me. I'm very open.
And how do you actually, so you've got this amazing team now in the building working for you. How do you ensure that they have the right level of training and support within the company?
We have so again because we have number 3 lines of business. So for example, our advisory companies, we have local management, local directors who run the business. So they deal with advisors of training. Usually they would have like onboarding process, training program and stuff. So I'm not really kind of involved in that on a day-to-day basis. But
Right.
we work with this management team trying to get some kind of best practice. Maybe we can use it in another company, and we encourage them to share information, share resources, and basically work as a team. For me, it's again, it's if you hire someone, depending on the job, what is expected. I think it's more when we hire junior guys, we give them. We're a fast-growing business, and people can progress with us very quickly if they're capable. So I always try to give them a bit of a kind of motivation and training, saying that look, you can have as many responsibilities as you can handle, but it's up to you. Yeah, we will help and support. And some people are very and the same in my career. If you do more than you get paid for, you will always get more money, faster promotion, progress much faster. If you are waiting to get promoted to do this job, you will move very slow. always try to explain it to people that look, and that was like in my career as well. First, you deliver, I don't know, like you work kind of at a partner level, in terms of responsibilities, our effort, then you become a partner. There is no other way around. So yeah, it just kind of working with people and kind of trying to be front honest and work together.
Love it. And when it comes to your three business partners, right, at this point, how do those dynamics work? I mean, how do you ensure you're so cohesive and, always looking towards the better of Fusion? What's the key ingredient for that success story?
I don't know. I think it just kind of, I don't know. It just happened. I think it's probably complementary. I mean, I think in any team, there is a personal level and kind of a skill set. So I think from a skill set, we're quite complementary to each other because I always kind of go out, I talk to people, I deal with all the kind of partners, investors, I deal with external world. And my business partners are PhDs in physics, maths, so they are kind of, very, and I learn a lot from them by, kind of working on certain problems. And then I think there is just kind of a certain kind of chemistry. So there are certain people you get along with. If there are problems, you solve it together. If there are successes, you enjoy and share. So yeah.
Okay, love it. I love it. I think the secret ingredient is something you need to tell me later on. Okay, what does the vision or the future look like for Fusion in the next 3 to 5 years, and also for you personally?
So for me personally, I mean, my future is kind of Fusion, and
Yes.
at the moment, we are focused on building a business and scaling it. I think we're moving into the stage where last kind of 3, 5 years, we focused a lot on building things and building different parts kind of a puzzle and different parts of this ecosystem. Building track record in investment management, like in retail portfolios, acquiring IFA companies, building just a fake platform. So I think the next kind of stage for like 3 to 5 years is scaling, continue with acquisitions, improving the businesses, making sure clients are happy, receive good service, working kind of on that side, and also scaling and kind of taking Justify to the market. So more advisors can use it, more advisors can start servicing clients online, provide better service, do it more efficiently. That helps their business. Ultimately, it has a positive impact on their clients. So yeah, for me, next like 3 or 5 years is really kind of scaling and going out and talking to people, clients more and more.
Right, so you're the face of the brand. Okay, got it. Taras, I always, when I look at partners, CEOs, high performers, right, I always ask them this question on the pod, or, how do you maintain your physical fitness and mental fitness to be at your A game every day, almost every day?
That's that's very important, I think. And I mean, I used to I do sports all my life and do it
Right.
professionally. So I still box. I go more or less every Saturday. I try to get a sparring session. My coach is very good. He's an English champion, so he keeps me like in a good shape. Also,
Yes.
my wife starts complaining a little bit, saying how you can do it. And sometimes on Monday morning, I still have like a little bruises or black eye, and I have to put a makeup. But that's what I love. I also love cold exposure. There is a guy called Wim Hof. I wrote a number of records, cold exposure. So I always was fine with a cold shower. But since I start watching him, I try to swim in the winter if I can, or take an ice bath, and I only take or usually a kind of cold shower. So that's helped me a lot. Then I'm a very big fan of, I mean, it's called Russian banya, but it's more like sauna, like a steam. So I try to go there and it really helps me to recharge. Exercises, I have a great park. I try to run, if not every morning, but do a bit of, they have like a street gym with pull-up bars and stuff. So for me, half an hour breathing exercises and some supplements. And lately I've been really into kind of mushrooms like lion's mane for cognitive function and some other stuff. So whatever nature gives us, I always, kind of exploring how we can use it for our benefit. And my wife lately she's getting into Ayurveda, so she's experimenting with that as well.
Love it. Okay, so cold showers, boxing, cold showers. I mean, that guy's very
breathing as well. Breathing exercises oxidizes your body.
Okay. Those are your non-negotiables in your life.
Yes.
Okay, love it. And who's part of your inner circle, Taras? People you go to when you need advice, help, you lean on to your close core group.
Well, my close, obviously I have I have friends. Some of my friends are still in Ukraine. My childhood
Right.
friends. I have a certain kind of network and connections here, but some people are just personal friends, and a lot of my kind of friends on a personal level, they're one way or the other, they're through boxing. So we either train together, sport together, fought together. That's kind of one side. Then obviously I have people who work in business who might be my friends, acquaintances, and depending on where I need advice or if I need some help, I don't. I mean, I'm always kind of open to asking either for help or advice, or I just depending on what the problem is. And I also think it's important, or I mean, at least I try to do it, is that when you really have a problem, your subconscious mind probably knows the answers. It's just a question of connecting it with it and reaching out and be able to receive the message. So I work on that as well. So it's a bit of I don't know intuition or how you can call it, but I think it's also powerful.
Love it. And last question, what's the best piece of advice you can give to people listening in today onto this one when it comes to about business, about, on this journey you've been through a really long journey, an interesting journey. So
I think it's depending on what I mean. Again, it's very difficult to give like a generic advice, but
yeah,
depending on
when
personal.
it comes to running a business, let's talk about.
Yeah, when it comes to running a business, I would say that especially for those who are either starting or at early stages or thinking to do it, I think that you need to appreciate and understand that things will take longer. It would be harder, so you really need to prepare for it. And it's not a sprint; it's a marathon. Yeah,
Yeah,
it might sound very obvious, but you would be surprised. Or I mean, I'm still surprised how many people don't quite kind of get it. They think, we start a business, a few months later, we're going to be flying. No. So you need to build some sort of like resilience and, kind of stamina for that. I also think that a lot of people underestimate sales and how important sales are because you can great product if you don't have a distribution, if you don't know how to get your message across, you would struggle. So I would, and there are a lot of kind of technical, I don't know, founders, co-founders, business owners who focus on kind of operations, tech, product, but comes, not paying enough attention to distribution. So I think sales is quite important. And in our kind of age, with a lot of social media, not even social media, but more like, there are a lot of like online creators. You can, you're doing podcasts, which is great. So just go out and talk to people. Talk about, your mission, your vision, what you are trying to solve. It will help you to make more friends, get some interesting ideas, meet new people, and
love it. Taras, it's great having you today. That's a wrap for today. That's a pod. Thank you very much. Thank you.
thank you very much. It was a pleasure
Thanks.
meeting you.